Broadcasting live, brother. Welcome back to Talkin Boxing with Billy C on the mighty TPSradio.net, brother. What you gonna do, brother?
And we're back. You're listening to the Talkin Boxing with Billy C show. Hey man, I want to welcome some new radio stations, or I should say a new radio station that we just added. They have two channels, ESPN in New Hampshire, 900 and 1250 AM. Glad you guys are part of the family now, and we're happy to expand to these other stations, so we're glad to be part of ESPN New Hampshire. So, hey, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. It's at Talkin Boxing. That's TALKIN BOXING. Now, joining me right now, feels like I haven't talked to this guy in forever, Boxing Hall of Famer and the New Jersey State Athletic Commissioner, Larry Hazzard, joins us. What's up, brother?
Hey, Billy, welcome back, man.
I tell you,
seems like years since we talked.
I know it does, and guess what? The fight still hasn't taken place. You know, at least we still got something to talk about. You know, I mean,
I'm telling you.
But I tell you what, man, it was the weather was just it was great in Florida, and I come home and we got snow last night. There's an inch of snow on the ground. I got bears trampling around my wood, my yards. You know, and I'm like, come on, man, what? And I thought it was bad seeing an alligator down there. You know, but anyway. Larry, a couple of things for you. I wanted to ask you first and foremost, what was your thoughts on the fight from this past weekend between Adonis Stevenson and Pacquiao Bika? Did you think that, bottom line, does Stevenson have a chance with Kovalev?
Well, he's got a chance. You know my position on fighters and fights, Billy. I always like to. And I really believe it. You know, when a fighter goes in the ring, he's got a chance. Okay? After the bell rings, then that, my opinion, might change, you know, depending on what I see. But I think Stevens has a chance. It won't be a easy night for him, but I definitely think he's got a chance. And, you know, he seems like he's one of those type of guys that doesn't take, the challenge lightly. I'm sure he's going to be in good shape. I'm sure he looked like he was in pretty good condition for this fight this past weekend. But it wasn't much of a contest, in my opinion. You know, he was in control of that fight pretty much throughout the whole, segment. But against Kovalev, my opinion hasn't changed of Kovalev, but I think he has a chance, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
You know, I want to think that Stevenson, when he steps up to the level of his competition. In other words, he fights better when he fights better guys. You know. But that's not always true. I mean, he struggled with that Fonfara in that fight. He was dropped in that fight. The Pacquiao Bika fight that he just fought. Bika's a dangerous guy, but he's not going to really bring you something that you don't know. He's coming at you wild. He's lunging in. Kovalev, a lot of people believe that he's just a power puncher, but man, this guy has shown us all kinds of facets of his game, and especially the one important thing, which isn't good for Stevenson. The guy's got a granite chin, so it's going to be an interesting fight when they get it on.
Kovalev, like Triple G, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Okay? Kovalev has been consistent in his performances. He fights. He's always in good shape, and nobody's going to beat him. I don't see anybody on the forefront that's going to beat him or Triple G. And these European fighters are really making a presence here in the United States, and I'm loving it, man, because it adds to the flavor of boxing. It really makes our sport an international. It makes it a world sport, and it's just great. Boxing is, in my opinion, is really, really going through a resurgence like I've seen before, and it's all over the television. I was rushing last week. Would you believe it? Rushing home to make sure I was home to see the fights. I haven't done that in a long time. And it's just a great thing, man. You know, in the barbershop, man, the guys are talking about the fight. Who's going to win the Pacquiao fight, the Mayweather? They're talking about, and the names are becoming familiar again. You know, so this is just a great time for the sport of boxing, and I think much of it is due to the PBC series that Al Heyman is stepping out there doing it. He's taking over Friday night fights. Okay, so I think it's a great thing, and if he keeps putting good fights on, you know, it's going to be a good thing for our sport, man, and I'm just loving it.
Well, I agree with you, and I hope that after Pacquiao Mayweather that we get the boxing fans still talking about other matchups that we're going to be demanding and wanting to see. And I hope, and like you and I have talked extensively about Al's Premier Boxing Champions series, it's starting to scare me, you know, and the reason why is because I just don't want to see. I mean, listen, we could pretty much say that Showtime, after following that model of showcase fights, went from a cable network that I couldn't wait to see whatever fight they put on. I didn't care who it was. I knew that it was going to be competitive, which is clearly not happening now on Showtime. And, you know, I just don't want to see that with the PBC. If they're trying to develop, I have a feeling, I've analyzed this, and, you know, I know we've crunched numbers. I know we've crunched it on air with you. And there's no way Al is making back the money per show that he's laying out. And he's also not in business just to lose money. I mean, he's too smart of an individual to do that. So I think that the plan is slightly different than I originally thought. I think what he's trying to do is utilize and basically pay to get the more eyes, and he's doing fantastic with the ratings and stuff, over 1 million every time. And I think he's trying to take these eyes and create fans and get them to follow some of these showcase fights, you know, the guys that he wants them to, like a Stevenson, let's say, for his last fight, or a Berto in his last fight. And then he's going to try to make a pay-per-view. Instead of us seeing 2 pay-per-views a year, maybe we're going to start to see 4 or 6, and he's going to try to make those big fights on the pay-per-view level, where now maybe those audiences will go from a 300,000 view pay-per-view to a 500,000 or 750,000, and that could justify him making back that money. That's the way I see it. But it boils down to this: is he going to let these guys actually fight in 50-50 fights?
Well, in order for it to be successful, he's going to have to, I think.
Right.
Because if the fights start to stink, you know, you're thinking like, maybe I've even thought about it too. We know that all good things eventually come to an end. And, you know, you're steady looking to see, well, where's he going with this? We know right now, and I agree with you, he's got to be laying out a lot of money, you know, on what he's doing. And how long can he keep this going? You know, if he doesn't get the sponsors and the backing, and if he can't keep putting good fights out there, it's going to run out, and you know, he's gonna be out of it. So he's taking a hell of a gamble. So we can just hope for the best. And what you're saying, we can just hope that he starts to recoup some of the finances so that he can continue to put the good fights out there so that the fan base gets stronger and not weaker.
Right. You know, because, you know, the one thing I don't want to happen is, you know, we're gaining, he's succeeding. He's succeeding in gaining more people to watch it. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I just don't want this. Like, when, you know, I talk to people when I travel, whatever, and, you know, it comes up in what you do for a living, and I always get the same answer. You know, I used to be a boxing fan. You know, I used to watch it, and then I got sick of it and I stopped. Well, I don't want those people to come back and then all of a sudden go, oh, That's right. This is why I stopped watching boxing. And then you're never going to get them back. And then the other thing is and I was thinking about my pay-per-view model idea, and maybe that's what Al is heading towards. But then I said to myself, well, geez, if you're getting all these views because it's on free TV, these are the people that don't want to fork over the money for premium cable, and they don't want to fork over the money for pay-per-view. So who knows? I guess only time will tell, right?
But you know what? But you know what I think will happen, Billy? We got pissed off with pay-per-view. I know I did.
Yeah. Because
we weren't seeing, first off, the fights were raggedy, okay? And then we had no other real options. So I think now that with what he's doing, if he gains the confidence of the fans, if he gets that fan base strong enough, and he becomes an identity, or Al Heyman, well, not so much Al Heyman, but the brand PBC, or whatever the fans begin to identify with, and that gets strong, and they build a confidence level in that brand, and then all of a sudden he starts to offer a pay-per-view, we'll be more willing at that point to pay a reasonable amount for a pay-per-view event that comes under the aegis of that brand, because we have the confidence in it. We know that, this is going to be a great fight. You don't mind paying then. See, what pissed off a lot of fans in the past is that we're watching this crap on pay-per-view, and we're saying, like, why should, where the hell is boxing going? It's all about, money, paying money for crappy fights. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The fan base had no confidence in the product. And so I think now that if he builds a good level of confidence in the products, period, then the fan base will follow the fan. They will follow the product. So if he keeps this going, and like you say, if he markets it right, if he does all the right things, I think, and then if he reverts to a pay-per-view every now and then, I think it'll work. But he has to maintain the confidence in that fan base.
Well, let's take a look at one of the fights this weekend, and I'll give you what my hang-up is. Danny Garcia against Lamont Peterson is on NBC. It's on network television. We're going to get huge views. Now, that fight, okay, is, in my opinion, could have been a significant fight. You have two guys that are title holders in the junior welterweight division. They were on a crash course. As a matter of fact, they were on the same card in different fights previously, and everybody thought that, if they both got W's, it would lead to a showdown between them. Danny Garcia is coming off of two not-so-great performances, and Lamont Peterson has been, a lot of people don't give him the credit that I think that they should. I mean, this guy is a quality fighter. So my point is this. There was a lot of significance that could have been made with this fight, especially on network television. But he kind of took it away. He made it a catchweight fight. So neither one of them are going to walk out of that arena not being a world champion. This fight is actually at welterweight, a division that neither one currently fights in. So he's got this safety net. So yes, we're going to see a fight, but we're not really getting the true significance of what the fight could have been. That's one of my pet peeves with what I see is going on. It's like safety first. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and see, now that's where he's protecting his money. You know what I'm saying? And that's not such a good thing. I agree with you there, because it takes away. Somehow it takes away from the event, from the fight. And frankly speaking, I'm not that hot on Garcia anyway. After that. I forgot the kid that he fought down in Puerto Rico, because I thought that, Jesse James was present in that fight, But anyway, what you're saying is very true. It's very true. These guys got to go for it at the weight where it's significant. Now, win or lose, they're still going to walk out of there, with a title.
Right.
Come Saturday, So it does. what you're saying is very true.
Well,
and, you can't do a lot of that because, again, like I say, you must maintain the confidence of that fan base.
If the guy signs, Al has rumor has it that he's hit the 200 mark with the fighters, right? So he's got 200 fighters under him, which is a whole nother ball game because he's not really a manager, he's not a promoter. So I think all of that's gonna blow up in his face eventually. But and his contracts are so strict that you wonder where it comes from. But let's say 200 fighters, all of those fighters can't be protected. If you take 200 fighters out of the pool of all the fighters that we have in the sport today and assume that his guys are always going to be protected, like you said, well, he's protecting his investment, that spells even worse because I was hoping that by him having this many fighters that he would put together and make these fights that we all are demanding and we want to see. You know what I mean? I don't want to think that every one of his fighters are going to be showcase fights because then we have a monopoly situation and I feel that it will be counterproductive.
Well, and you're right again. I mean, I'm just hoping that the things that you're saying are not true.
I know.
Because you're right about everything you're saying. I have to agree with it. If I didn't, I would say it.
No, I would.
What you're saying is very true. And I'm hoping that it's not true. I hope that it doesn't come to pass what you're saying. Because he will be doing the same thing that we've been complaining about, except that he's doing it in a different way.
And what's even worse is that he seemed like, because when he took over ESPN, basically they were glad because he's paying them now. They were losing money every time they were doing it. So now, he's got that. Let's say he doesn't, if he succeeds, it's going to be great in Boxingville. Everything's going to be good. We're all going to be continuing to get all of these fights, and whether we complain about who's fighting who or not, that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is we're still getting the fights. But if he doesn't succeed and he says, forget it, I made an error, and he walks away. Now what do we end up with? We end up with no fights on TV. And that's the downer, But
it's a downside to everything. So
I know.
You know that.
Like you said, all good things come to an end. Hey, listen, we're less than a month away from the big fight, Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather. Has anything changed with your outlook? I mean, it's been analyzed, it's been dissected. I mean, we still got, 3.5 more weeks of it. But, as time goes on, as you're getting little drips and drabs from this camp and from that camp, has anything changed? Do you think your thoughts on this fight or how or what each fighter has to do to win, has anything changed, or is it pretty much still exactly how you thought it would be long before this fight was announced?
Same thing. I feel even stronger in the way I felt before. But I'm loving the hype.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All of this is great, man. I mean, you understand? I'm loving it, and it's just very enjoyable watching many of the fans who are really not that knowledgeable. They're asking questions. They're all hyped up. It's going to be a very festive week or a month as we get closer to the fight, and it's great. But as far as I'm concerned, from a real, we're inside of the sport. We know the ins and outs. I certainly, I know it from soup to nuts, even how the officials think and all of the dynamics that's going on. And like I said, I love it. But my opinion has not changed. It's just another fight, Billy.
Yeah.
It's just another fight. Outrageous in terms of ticket prices and all of that other stuff, that's all great. But it's just another fight. And in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, okay? But, this is all part of it, too. I'm going out on a limb so somebody can say, well, Larry was wrong on all of that, okay? This fight will come nowhere near what we're used to saying or used to seeing. Nowhere near any of the Hearns, Leonard, Hagler, none of that. It's a different era of fighters. These guys will not dare engage like the guys that we are so used to seeing. Sugar Ray Leonard, man, would go. You knew what you were going to see. Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, all of the great ones. You understand?
Yeah.
Roberto Duran. This fight will come nowhere near any of those fights that we're used to fighting. And don't even mention fights like the Thriller in Manila with Ali and Frazier and all that. This is what we're used to seeing. So just get ready, because you're not going to see anything near that. My opinion has not changed whatsoever. And I'm going to say this, okay? And you know I've always had a great appreciation for Floyd Mayweather's skills, because he's a very skillful fighter. But Floyd better be careful, because I know how judges, I know how they judge, I know what they look for, I know the rationale that they're going to give for everything they do and how they score. I know it all. I've heard all of that shit. You understand? And if Floyd gets back in his rocking chair and wants to show off all of his defensive skills and all of that stuff, he's in for a big disappointment. Okay, so he better be careful. He better come to fight, and he better lay it out there. But in no way is this fight going to be equal to any of the stuff that we're used to, the great fights from the great fighters that we've used to seeing in the past. No way.
Well, the money wise, Floyd's going to walk away when all is said and done with over $200 million. I mean, you know,
incredible,
unbelievable.
God bless him, man.
Exactly,
God bless him.
Exactly. I mean, you look at superstar athletes, baseball, football. Over 10 years, they don't make that. You know, so you got to give him credit for that. And to be honest with you, you know, Floyd. Floyd is you know, I think he's really doing his best to prepare himself, and he's always in good shape. I give him a lot of credit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does come out and try to be a little more aggressive. He's clearly the bigger man. I think he realizes that, whether he didn't realize it before or not. I think with some of the publicity shots and them standing next to each other, it's pretty obvious Floyd is way bigger, a way bigger man. And I think that, you know, and you know, we saw a piece of it when he fought Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo had that deficit, what he does, deficiency, I should say, where he kind of has to stand in front and lock his legs before he lets his hands go. And Floyd took advantage of that. Slight movement, and Floyd was able to throw 4, 5, 6 punches, which he never does, and it was against a bigger guy. I think if Manny Pacquiao cannot cut the ring off and force Floyd to do that, or let me rephrase it, if Manny does cut the ring off and try to attack Floyd, and Floyd is forced to exchange, I wouldn't be surprised if he catches Manny and puts him to sleep. I mean, Floyd doesn't have one-punch knockout power. He doesn't. But he's a way bigger guy than Manny Pacquiao.
Well, if Floyd, let me say this. If Floyd comes out and lets it hang loose, man, there's no way Manny Pacquiao's going to beat him. But Floyd is not used to engaging. He will show you all of the beautiful defensive skills. He'll get back there to the ropes, and he will rock back and lean to the side, and nobody does it better. But if he does that, then Manny Pacquiao, if Floyd gets into that malaise of defense, then Manny Pacquiao will mess around there and steal the rounds from him, and he'll end up losing a fight. But if Floyd Mayweather comes out and lets it hang and goes on the offense, there's no way Pacquiao's going to beat him.
Well, either way,
that's what we better look for.
Well, either way, we're seeing a rematch in September. So I mean, that's going to happen. But one last question before I let you go. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is getting back into the ring. We'll talk about it a little bit next week. But he's stepping in the ring at light heavyweight. Now, at first glance, nobody really is shocked, because his last several fights after he made the weight, he weighed 180 pounds on fight night. But now all of a sudden he's stepping in against a guy that's going to be weighing the same amount as him, if not more, in the light heavyweight division. And Chavez Jr. has shown us that he's got a granite chin. I've never seen the guy hurt in any way, shape, or form. I've never even seen him get stopped in his tracks by a middleweight. Do you think that the additional weight from him, fighting a real full-fledged light heavyweight, is going to show some chinks in his armor, or do you think he's going to maintain that granite chin?
Well, he may have some chinks in his armor, but when a guy has a granite chin, a lot of that's physical. And so I don't think that's going to change. Okay, he's always been capable of taking the punch of a heavier guy. So I think that, the granite chin is still going to be there, and I have confidence that Chavez Jr. is going to be okay in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect, here's a case where Al, he's got both fighters. He's got Chavez and he's got Fonfara. Yeah, he's got to lose, so.
Well, Billy, it's like this, man. Here's a guy who's laying all the money out there. So he's paying the cost to be the boss, man. I can't say that about everybody. You got all these other promoters and other people in boxing. So this guy, even if it's just for a short period of time, doesn't it feel good, man, to see our sport like it is, at least for right now? So let's enjoy the ride, man.
Well, I'm hoping,
because I'm loving it.
I tell you what's going to get even better. When you see these guys trying to compete with him in terms of TV, we're seeing other channels out of nowhere popping up, and they're putting boxing on. We see signings with Rock Nation. They're starting to move and shake a little bit, and they're all trying to compete. So as long as there's not just one game in town, we're in good shape. But if we let it get to be one game in town, all the fighters with one guy, all the networks with one guy, all the boxing's being controlled by one guy. That's what screwed us up the last time. We can't let that happen. So
that's right.
That's the bottom line. But I'm with you, man. I enjoy the ride right now. It certainly got me going all over the place. Not that there's any money coming, but it's fun anyway. But hey, we'll see what happens, and I think it's all good.
Yeah, and I had a great day today. I really made Henry Haskell's day today. I had a meeting. And, we're grinding away here in Jersey, trying to do what we can to revive our sport here in New Jersey. Little by little, I'm seeing some signs. We're getting some fights here and there. Of course, Atlantic City is going through the transition. But I met with Henry today, and I made his day because, he's always been hot for these state championships and things like that. So, we're putting the nuts and bolts in place to try to get New Jersey state championships going again. So Henry's been charged with organizing some things in that light. So he left my office today very happy. He drove all the way down to Trenton, and so we're trying to get the New Jersey boxing community together and trying to get some things going here. So I'm just feeling good, man. It's just a great time for me and my life in the sport of boxing, man. It's like a revitalization of everything, and I'm feeling good about the sport once again, man. It's just giving me a lot of energy now.
Well, I hear you. Great. I hear you, and I'm glad. Especially, I'm keeping my eye on Jersey. As a matter of fact, check your email in the morning. Speaking of which, Atlantic City and stuff. If I got some ideas for that. I told you I wanted to talk to you about as soon as we got back.
Okay.
And
Cool.
check your email when you're having your coffee tomorrow morning. It'll be there. All right.
Okay, Billy.
All right, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, man. Good talking to you.
All right, Larry.
Welcome
Same here.
back.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
That's my man, Larry Hazzard. And I keep your eye on Jersey. He's bringing it back. That's what I want to see. I'll know boxing is 100% back when we have all those big world title fights back in Atlantic City. Remember, when Mike Tyson was in his heyday, those fights weren't in Vegas. They were in Atlantic City, man. We had a lot of good stuff there. And hopefully that'll happen again. And if anybody's going to make it happen, it's my man Larry. We'll be back in 2.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. now has official merchandise available on TalkinBoxing.com. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and mugs. And yes, even undergarments. Talkin' Boxing apparel is the perfect gift for the boxing fan in your life. Log on to www.talkinboxing.com. That's TalkinBoxing.com and place your order today.
Join us here for 2 hours as Billy and the gang do what they do best.
Every time I start talking about boxing, a white man got to pull Rocky Marciano out their ass. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
Hit Joe Louis's ass.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
Huh? What?
We're supposed to be talking boxing.
It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
As Billy C sits here in the multi-million-dollar Talkin' Boxing Studios, sipping a fine wine before you're even out of bed, you should be thinking, damn, I wish I had a mustache like his. It's the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show. He's Billy C, and you're not. Sucks to be you. All the excitement of the Hunger Games, minus the dead children. This is the Talkin' Boxing with Billy C show.